I'm Ed Woodstock, and welcome to Guided Meditation, sharing wisdom on the journey of life. And today's talk is called, What is Love? So, what is love? Where is love? Can you point to it? Can you measure it? Can you put it in a box and send it? Can you hold it? Can you keep it? And the reason I ask these questions is because many of us have this idea of what we think love is, but the only idea that each individual has about what love is based on what that individual believes love is. You see, when I say the word love, I push air through my vocal cords and make a sound. Love. And as they make that sound, love, it goes into this microphone, through the internet, out of your speaker, into your ear, where your brain interprets the word love. But it's perceiving love based on the definition of love that you have in your mind and your heart right now, which could be very different than the version of love that I'm intending to express. And so we have to understand on some level the things we perceive are based upon the way our senses pick them up. We only have these 5 senses. We can only see, smell, touch, taste, hear the physical world around us. And based upon how we perceive through the senses all of the experiences of life will determine how we define certain words, feelings, emotions, and experiences. And so what is love? Is it something that we can go and get somewhere? Is it something that someone else gives us? Is it something that we need from the outside, or is it something that comes from the inside? And not just with love, but with all emotions. But love in particular is something that we look for outside, especially if we're feeling negative emotions, like sadness or loneliness, or feeling unwanted or abandoned or rejected. A lot of us can want and crave love. And so to understand that it's something that most people want, or should I say almost all people want, if it's such a common thing for this human experience to want to feel love, a good question would be, what is love and where do we get it from? What's the source of it? Now, if I say something pleasant to another person, they may feel good inside, but I'm saying something to them and they're hearing it, and then that feeling is generated from something within them. So the question would remain, where is that love? Is the love coming from something I say to someone? Or does it come from the feeling that's derived from them hearing words that make them feel that way? I'll give you an example. Let's say I tell someone they're so great, but I don't really mean it. And yet they would feel in some ways that the words that they heard make them feel love. And even if I didn't intend it, they would still have that feeling, because where does that feeling come from? That's right. It comes from within them. So where does the love that you feel come from? Does it really come from the other? Does it come from the external? Does it come from our children and our spouses and our lovers and the work that we do, or the experiences we have, the sunset, the nature, the experiences that we enjoy? Or does it come from the feelings that we derive from those experiences? And essentially those feelings are coming from within us. So we understand that the feeling comes from within us, but we can also understand that these feelings are stimulated, generated, encouraged, or fostered, or the genesis of those feelings come from external environments, situations, words, experiences, maybe physical touch as an expression of love. But again, even with physical touch, it's a stimuli, a pleasant stimuli that comes to feeling touched and cared for in an affectionate and intimate way. But the feeling still comes from within us. The oxytocin, the vasopressin, the healthy hormones for bonding and love and connection come from within us, even though the stimulus is outside of us. And so if we understand that this is a natural process, that as babies, our need to be picked up, to feel skin-to-skin contact, to be held close to the mother, to feel the warmth of the skin, to feel the heartbeat, to be given milk to drink, nurturing, nourishing, healthy connection. And we feel this connection. And the source of this is outside of us, but the feelings that we feel are inside of us. And so as we grow up, this bonding mechanism is a really powerful way for us to get our needs met. We may cry out if we don't get our needs met as a baby. Some of us still cry out as adults. But as we get older, we don't need mama's bosom to drink from, to nourish. We learn to nourish ourselves. And cooking food for someone can be a love language in which we can express our love and appreciation. So yes, external things from food to touch to caress to nourishment. They're all ways of expressing love, but they're external things that give us an internal feeling. And when we see that, we can see how sometimes we confuse the external stimuli as the source of love. And so what happens is, as we get older and we go through life, these bonds and connections and experiences of our five senses can oftentimes be conflated with love. And in many ways, they are expressions of real love, but we have to really break it down and understand that the feelings that we're feeling are coming from within us. And if that's the case, is it potential we can feel that love even without someone saying something to us? Is it possible we can feel love and satisfaction and contentment within us without someone saying words, physically touching us, preparing food and nourishing us, or writing us a letter, or singing us a song, or doing anything outside of us to make us feel anything? But can we possibly generate that feeling of love within us without any external stimuli? Well, that's an interesting question. You see, a lot of people spend a lot of their lives looking outside of themselves for love, satisfaction, connection, belonging, intimacy, validation. And when we derive a sense of self-worth and meaning from external stimuli, from other people, experiences, situations, relationships, connections, it can oftentimes seem that the source of love and connection and satisfaction, belonging, all these things come from outside of us. But as we get older, we can also see that when we allow the love and satisfaction, connection, belonging, sense of purpose to come from external stimuli, in a lot of ways we give our power away. And when we give our power away, then we become enslaved to those external variables, thinking that the only way we can feel love, affection, belonging, connection is when someone else gives it to us, when an outside situation or force gives us what it is we think we want, when in reality, our ability to feel those feelings exists within us. And so the question would be, can we feel this feeling of love, belonging, and connection without people, places, and situations to be required to give us this feeling? And this is what the term self-love implies in a lot of ways. And it gets a bad rap sometimes because people think that this self-love is this selfishness. When in reality, one of the greatest acts of selflessness and in our ability to show up to be the best that we can for the people that we care about in our lives is to learn to love ourselves and care for ourselves. It's a radical act to claim that I will take care of myself. I will become the best version of myself. I will care for myself and love myself in a way where I can show up to be the best version of myself as a gift to you. And you will take care of yourself and love yourself. And you'll become the best version of yourself as a gift to me. And so just as when we were babies, we needed someone else to pick us up and feed us and take care of us and protect us and to make us feel like we belong, to keep us safe. These biological imperatives serve to protect us at a time when we were vulnerable and needed someone else to care for us. But as we get older, that same connection is not necessary for essential survival. We no longer need someone to feed us directly from their breast. We don't need another person to protect us as we learn to protect ourselves. We don't need someone else to validate us when we can validate ourselves as mature adults. And so when we start to recognize that sometimes there's an inner child in us that is looking for this love, validation, approval, and connection, we can suffer. Because what we do is we project this idea that this person is responsible for our happiness, that this external situation, this relationship, this new child, this marriage, this new job, this newfound wealth, name anything outside of us that we think will make us happy. And essentially, we give our power away by thinking that if we just rearrange the external world to meet our needs, that it will all of a sudden just fix all the problems we have and take away our loneliness, our abandonment, our neglect, our feeling of loneliness or feeling incomplete. When in reality, the more that we look outside, the more that we will not only suffer, but the more that we will impose suffering on other people, expecting that they can solve our problems from within. So although it is true in some ways as formative babies and adolescents going through toddler age, that we do need adults to provide and protect and give us the nourishment and love that we need to feel healthy and happy. That once we get to a certain age, it becomes our responsibility to learn to nourish ourselves, not just physically by providing food for ourselves, but in actuality, the nourishment that our soul needs. It becomes our responsibility to nourish ourselves physically, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And when we take our power back, we inflict less suffering on ourselves and each other because we don't hold other people responsible for our well-being. It becomes our responsibility. And this can make us more powerful. And one of the key aspects to making this transition from this kind of adolescent, immature version of love to a more evolved version of love is recognizing that there are parts of our inner child that still feel unloved and confused and abandoned and neglected and hurt. And so as adults, we need to learn to reparent our inner child. We need to learn to recognize that there is a wounded child within us. And if we can accept this reality, if we can actually sit and learn to nourish ourselves, we can literally give ourselves the love and affection that we want sometimes. And one exercise I like to do is to put my right hand over my heart and my left hand over my belly. And take a few deep breaths in through the nose. And slowly release. And as I breathe deeply into the belly, I can relax my nervous system. And by touching my sternum and my chest and my belly button, and giving gratitude for my healthy body and for my life and my life experience, I can just simply shift some of the energy that I use to focus on gaining things from the outside and redirect some of that energy and attention and love and focus to myself, reminding myself that I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm grounded, I'm healthy, I'm grateful. And as this new version of the adult version of yourself that's going to reparent this wounded inner child who is confused and scared and lonely and hurt and grieving and carrying so much heavy emotion, the adult version of you can just remind that young version of yourself that I got you now. I'm going to take care of you now. I see that you're lonely and sad and afraid and confused and hurt. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you're confused about who's going to love you and whether you're even lovable, whether you're deserving of love. Well, you'll dispel that and remind yourself, yes, you are loved. You are lovable. You are worthy of love. You can even look in the mirror and say, I love you. I value you. I honor you. I cherish you. I will protect you. I will care for you. And you can remind yourself on a regular basis that the mature, evolved, enlightened version of you now will care for that wounded inner child who feels unloved and overlooked and abandoned. And the beautiful part about this is not only do you fill yourself up with love, but a couple other things happen. One of the things that happens when we start to offer ourselves self-love is that we recognize that we can only give to others things that we have for ourselves. I mean, how could I possibly give something to someone else if I don't have it myself? So if I want to be loving, if I want to be forgiving, if I want to be compassionate, understanding, I have to be loving, forgiving, understanding, and compassionate to myself. We must give ourselves and become for ourselves the very things that we look for from the outside and from other people. There's no other way around it. Continuing to look outside for the things that we want to feel is to give our power away and to experience greater suffering and confusion. But when we realize that we are the ones we've been looking for, that you are the love of your life, that you are stuck with yourself, and the relationship that you have with yourself is paramount to how you perceive this life experience and what kind of peace and satisfaction you experience, it's a game changer. We start to recognize that we are the ones we've been looking for, that you are the one you've been looking for, and that if you want to be able to share with this world these feelings, that you must possess them yourself, and therefore you must give them to yourself. The other key aspect of this process of recognizing that love comes within us and that it's our responsibility to give it to ourselves is we pass through these portals of evolution where we start to recognize that we are becoming for ourselves and for other people the very thing that we look for in others. That you are becoming the very person that you needed to guide you when you were going through a tough time. It's a rite of passage. It's a growth of becoming a different version of yourself, in which you become the version of yourself that you needed when you were going through difficult times. And you graduate. And when there are people that are going through tough times in life, you then cross over into another realm, and you begin to become for others what you needed for yourself when you were going through difficult times. And this can also deepen our sense of life purpose, because we realize that that's what we're here for. We're not here to make money, success, fame, acquire things, possessions, people, experiences. They're all lovely things, but the true meaning of life, the true purpose of our existence, is to learn to honor and cherish the gift that was given to us by the Creator, which is ourselves. To love oneself is to love and honor the gift that God has given in this life, that we've been put here in these bodies, in this human experience, and to learn to honor, love, and cherish, to protect, to care for this physical vessel, this body, to learn to honor and nurture the child within us, is to honor and nurture the gifts of God. And so when we start to recognize that this is our deeper sense of purpose, this is our true meaning, when we stop looking outside of ourselves and we start looking within to offer ourselves the very thing we look for outside, we become powerful. And it's not always easy to do. I suck at it sometimes, still looking outside, still recognizing the wounded inner child that wants love and validation, acceptance, approval. But as I develop the self-awareness around these desires, and instead of looking outside of myself, I turn within, and I can sit with my pain, my sadness, my grief, my fear. And instead of numbing and distracting myself with unhealthy habits, or trying to distract myself with something that feels good or exciting, if I can just sit with some of the heavier emotions and tend to that inner child and practice that self-love, I can then release and let go of some of the wounds that I've been carrying for years, decades, since I was a young child. And I do believe within that shift of learning how to reparent our inner child, learning to love ourselves in a way where we can show up for ourselves and each other with more intention, with a more grounded, confident inner strength and inner peace, that the ability to cultivate those states within us and then share that with the world is part of our truest purpose of being here alive on this earth. And so if you're running around like crazy trying to fulfill all the needs, I got good news for you. A lot of it doesn't exist out there. A lot of it exists within. So I encourage you to sit with the uncomfortable feelings. Don't numb and distract yourself, especially with unhealthy habits that can be destructive. And allow yourself to feel the pain, the sadness, the grief, the fear, the longing, the loneliness. And allow yourself to breathe deeply through it, to nurture, nourish, and care for yourself, to remind yourself that you're in charge now and you'll take care of you, to heal yourself from the inside, to release the pain, to surrender to the way things are, to let go of what no longer belongs to you, and open yourself up to receiving the love that you want from yourself, and then becoming what you needed when you were going through difficult times, and then sharing that with the rest of the world. That, I believe, is part of our deepest life purpose. So, armed with that knowledge, I wish you the best. And thank you for dropping into guided meditation. If you want to learn more about meditation, if you want to get some one-on-one work, or if you want a custom guided meditation that can help you with specific problems, please reach out to me here. You can make an appointment for a one-on-one free consultation, or you can learn more by visiting edwoodstock.com and learning more about how to work with me to develop some of these skills. And I'm wishing you all the best of luck on your journey.